Hello and welcome to episode 2 of this Let's Play Space Age series. In the first episode we just really wanted to get to here. We wanted to get to the point where we were launching a rocket into space. So we've built a vanilla factory which I'm hoping is mostly, if not very, familiar to all of us really, to be honest. It's stuff we've seen before. And this episode, I'm going to get to space and we're going to see what happens. I have no plans. I've been playing around with this little rocket silo that we have here. I can't enter it, as far as I'm aware, unless there's some secret command that's not enter. I don't know. We're going to get to space. We're going to send something to space, but I currently have no idea how we get to space. That's the new thing. Anyway, let's launch this thing. Let's see what happens. Okay, I think I've got it sussed. I think. So, in my mind, this rocket silo, we're just dealing with space at the moment. Let's just forget about the other planets for the time being. This rocket silo is like a magic portal to another world. Like, when we enter that portal, we can only take the clothes on our back and the weapons that we have in our little tab down here in the bottom left. And that does not, we're not allowed to take any ammo with us. And then when we get to the destination at the other side of this portal, we are merely observers. We can't do anything. All of our actions need to be carried out through the robots who will act as our kind of agents. We can't build anything ourselves. They've got to construct everything for us. Hello there, Future Bigfoot just popping in. So what I just said about robots, completely 100% false. And it's actually it's 100% false for a reason. We can't. As far as I'm aware, we can't use robots in space. They're pointless in space. And the reason is because these chests, they all come with this construction surface conditions of gravity greater than 0.1 meters per second squared. They all have it. So we can't put these in space. So I don't see how we can use robots without having access to any of the chests. I'm assuming that the game is just saying, oh, if you put one of these chests on your platform, it's just going to float away. Anyway, that's by the by. Because what we actually have in space is a magic platform. So we don't have to be there. We don't have to have robots. We can build up there and it will just build itself. And we don't need power poles. The floor conducts electricity. So we don't need robots in space. Now, this comes about because I'm pretty sure at some point I've been wandering around here in these tips and tricks, and I've seen a video clip of robots whizzing around space. I have no idea where it is. I mean, it might have been in something like... I'm certain I've seen robots whizzing around in space in one of these clips. And I'm pretty sure that's where I've got the idea from. I feel like the game is still being updated pretty often, to be honest. I mean, there was a recipe that I talked about in the first episode for recycling. This a one. No, this a one. Where is it? Here we go. And what it was when I first turned on the game was that we lost 75% of the things that we threw in and we got 25% back, and it was really, really simple. Now it's this. This doesn't look very vanilla friendly in my book. But anyway, I suppose that's the new cost of recycling. Interesting. Maybe we can build a factory from this stuff. Maybe we can build a factory from scrap. Anyway, I'm rambling. I'm getting way off topic. Robots in space, we don't need them. Let's get back to the video. And this rocket silo acts as kind of a universal logistics hub. So the platform will request items. Those requests will be transmitted to the silo. I haven't worked out how this happens. I'm just trying to figure out the mechanics of it for the moment. Those requests get transmitted to this silo, and the silo then requests those items from the logistic network on this planet. So everything that the hub needs, that platform needs to be connected via a robot network to this silo. We don't need individual silos. I mean, I think in my mind, I was already just assuming that it was going to be something similar to what we had in SpaceX, or the Factorio SpaceX, which is what I was playing, whereby I had, I don't know, 50 or 60 rocket silos on Novice, one for each ingredient, whereas here we have one rocket silo which will do everything. We've just got to connect it all to the right boxes with the robot network, which is unfortunate because I've not really allowed for any sort of robot network, and the power requirements of the robots scares me a little bit. I haven't got nuclear yet. You know, Covarex is, as you know, you might expect, something we've got to unlock in space. You know, it's not on another planet. It's not that bad. There's a science that we get by collecting asteroids in space. It's white science, the old science we used to get from launching the satellite, and I get access to Covarex just by getting access to that white science. So it's not a million miles away, but at this moment in time, power might be tricky with a whole lot of robots whizzing around. I suppose I could wash down a whole lot of solar panels. Anyway, that's the immediate focus now. I've got to upgrade this base so it's got robot coverage everywhere. I've got to set up all of the boxes. Now the boxes are there, they're just steel chests at the moment, so I've got to upgrade them to the right chest. And then I suppose I need to start, first up, move some robots up there. That's probably the priority, because there's no point moving anything up onto the platform until I've got robots, because I can't do anything without them. So yeah, I think that's the plan. We'll figure things out. You know, the montage will tell the story, hopefully. Okay, we have a nice little platform up in space doing its thing, chugging away. I am happy. All of this is new, I'm guessing, to you. So let me just go through what's happening here. We are a platform in space, and we are occasionally being buffeted, being hit by asteroids. Now, for the most part, those asteroids will collide with our base and nothing will happen, like they're not going to damage any structures. But what we want to happen is we want to collect those asteroids so we can make stuff with them. And there are 3 basic asteroids. There's one which, when we crush, we get ice. There's one we get iron, and there's one we get carbon. And using those 3 ingredients, we can make both white science and both of the fuel types that we need to power these rockets. So we've got these 2 different kind of fuel types. We've got this blue fuel and this red fuel, and we need both of them for the rockets. And we can get all of that from these 3 main asteroids. Actually, thinking about it, there's a 4th kind of asteroid. I don't know what we do with it yet. I'm not collecting it. I don't seem to have picked up any. Anyway, that's by the by. Now, these big hands that occasionally grab out and grab an asteroid, the asteroid, these are the asteroid collectors themselves. These kind of have 2 different ways that we can set them up. So the first way is that we can set it up so that it just picks up any kind of asteroid that wanders into its sphere of influence, like this little square, this rectangle that we've got here. Any kind of asteroid that enters that space, this asteroid will collect. Or we can set it up with filters so it will only pick up a specific kind of asteroid. Now, I've got all of these set up to pick up a specific kind of asteroid, and that's because I'm pretty sure that if I set it up to pick up all of them, then at some point in time, I'm imagining that of these 3 ingredients, one of them we need a lot of, one of them we don't need much of, and one of them's kind of in the middle. So if I set them up to pick up any kind of asteroid, then eventually we're only going to have the asteroid that we don't need, that we got too much of. So I've set them all up with conveyor belts to, they've all filtered off onto their own conveyor belts, so they're picking up just one kind of asteroid. Now, that does kind of limit, because obviously if we've got this particular asteroid collector collecting any kind of asteroid within this box, then it will probably, in general, pick up more asteroids, because it's more things. But I've gone the other way. I've gone more asteroid collectors. So what have I got here? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. I've got 12 asteroid collectors. Now, from the original setup that I had, what it felt like was the thing that we needed the most of, or at least was the rarest, was the ice kind of meteorite. So of these 12 asteroid collectors, I've got 6 of them picking up the ice version, and I've got 3 picking up the carbon, and I've got 3 picking up the iron. And I've still got too much iron and too much carbon. So maybe the ratio needs to change again. I don't know. Anyway, we are all set up. We're ready to go. I've got rocket fuel. No, we're not full, but we should have hopefully enough to at least get us to our next destination. And that's really the thing that we've been gearing towards. And on that front, we kind of have some options. Like, oh, here we go. We've got 3 different planets that we can visit. We've got Fulgora, that name there. Gleba and Vulcanus. Now, I don't know anything about Fulgora, nothing at all. Gleba, someone in my Discord chat keeps warning me about Gleba, says I'm going to have a lot of fun there. So I'm just going to leave that one for the moment. Besides, all of those Foundry items that I found in the first episode in the technology tree, those were all related to this one, the Vulcanus planet. So this is where I think I'm going to go. In fact, I know I'm going to go here. So what I need to do is I need to research this planet. I need to find out what things I need. I don't know how I'm going to get stuff here. At the moment, as far as I'm aware, we can't take any inventory to space from Novice. So I'm imagining I'm going to have to deliver them all via this rocket system. But I also know that, this... a rocket silo. No, that's the wrong thing. Here we go. It literally says too heavy for a rocket under rocket capacity. We can't get any of these on a rocket. So somehow or other, I'm going to have to construct one of these on all of these planets that I visit, because I can't move one. Now, the obvious answer is to move it in parts. So we move 1,000 steel plate, 200 blue chips, etc., etc. I'm imagining that moving 1,000 steel plate and 1,000 concrete is going to be very, very difficult. But equally, you know, there's this foundry option. This, you know, we've got things in here where we can make concrete from molten iron. So from my perspective, I feel like this is the obvious choice. You know, it feels like this gives us the potential for how we deal with the. I mean, you know, it makes sense for this planet, for Vulcanus. We can make a rocket silo on this planet, but we would have to find other ways to make these things on the other planets we visit. So this one looks like the obvious, easy choice. So I'm going to do it first. That's what we're going to do. But I don't know how long it's going to. Don't know what I'm going to have to do to get there, or how long it's going to take, or anything. We're just going to have to figure this out, as always. As is always going to be the case on this Let's Play, from here on out anyway. So, let's see what happens. It's taken a few goes to get here, but we're here. You know, a lot of learning is taking place, but who knew we would encounter some larger meteorites that would wipe out half of our new fancy spacecraft. Anyway, we got here, and I think I'm stranded. I can't get back. I don't think I can get back to that platform. Like, if I go into my map view, find the thingy-bob, click on this thing, there's no way to get to it. I'm pretty sure I need a rocket landing silo thingamajig. I need to build a rocket in it, and I need to, you know, I think I need this thing to come pre-prepared with a whole lot of materials, particularly those blue chips and the electric engine, so that I can build that silo and go back and forth. But I suppose I wouldn't be. Rocket fuel. How do I do rocket fuel? There's a good question.
Rocket fuel. No. This is no. So biofuel needs to come on. Oh, what's this? Rocket productivity. Agricultural. Ammonia rocket fuel. Where are you? Oh, so you're on that other planet, the Fulgara planet.
Anyway, we are stranded, so we need to go back to an earlier save game. Oh no, before I do that, there's a few. So on this map, we've got some red areas. I don't know what these signify. In one of these areas, we've got a worm. Let's go have a look at it actually, so you can see what it is. Ah, there you are. There we are. Here's the big guy. Look at this chap. Now, I can't do anything with it. I've got no ammo from any weapons. I mean, what happens if does it just get in the way? Oh, no, oh, it does kill me. Okay. Good to know. So I don't know what to do with this thing. It's just going to wander around. And I'm wondering, maybe that's what these areas signify. Maybe each one of these areas is a different worm. I don't know. Anyway, we're stranded. So I need to find my way. I need to reload and load this save. And I also, one of the other things, we need some stuff. I've been looking in here. So, Vulcanus briefing. Is a hot planet, infinite resources. No. Lava process. Ah, here we go. Fluid lava can be pumped with an offshore pump and processed in a foundry into stone molten. So I need an offshore pump. Now, I haven't got any of those with me on my platform, and I'm not actually making any of those on Novice. So I need to set up somewhere to make those things. I need to rejig all of the inventory on this platform. You know, we actually don't get all that much space in here. This is the sort of space that we have access to. You know, do I need to stop producing science at a certain point? Ah, man. Anyway, let's reload that earlier save. Let's get these bits and pieces sorted. I need to figure stuff out. Alright, so a lot of new stuff here. Let's see if I can remember to talk about it Okay, so number one, these red areas, I'm almost 100% sure now that these are the areas associated with a specific worm. I was building here quite happy. I built on the area. I got a warning that I built on that area. I didn't even really know what it meant. And a few minutes later, this big worm turned up and ruined it all. So I'm pretty certain that these are their areas. Now that would kind of imply that if we happen to defeat the worm, then we would get access to this dashed off area. Now this bit in the middle, which we have access to, is completely clear of worms, and we have all of it. So if we defeat a worm, that's what it looks like to me. Anyway, it's important because I need to get access to this tungsten ore, and we need to put down a special type of mine on this tungsten ore. And I don't want to put one down if this worm's going to come across and just blow it up. And I'm not 100% sure I've got the right tools to be able to defeat one of these big worms. They look pretty powerful. You know, all I've really got access to, specifically on this planet, you know, I've got infinite lava. So I've technically got infinite copper, infinite iron, infinite steel, depending on how much processing I put down on the map. So I can quite easily bomb down a whole load of turrets, fill it with a whole load of ammo, but there's no guarantee that would work. And if that doesn't work, I think the next step would be to bring an atomic bomb. But an atomic bomb is another one of those things that is too heavy to go on a rocket, and so I would have to construct it by parts. That's just and then if that's just for this worm, I'll have to do that for every worm. I really, really hope that the gun turret solution works. We'll find out in due course, I suppose. And whilst we're on the topic of this infinite iron, infinite lava business, I thought, you know, there's a recipe in here. Let me just dig it out. I thought that this might be, maybe, a new way of processing iron and copper ore on Novice, because we can turn iron ore into molten iron and we can turn copper ore into molten copper. We need this calcite thing, but you know, if this gives us access to some super efficient process that gives us more iron plate or copper plate out at the end of the day, then this amount of calcite, 1 per 50 copper ore, that's not a lot. But I got my calculator out, all excited about it, because, you know, technically we'd have to ship all this calcite off to Novice. So I was going to calculate how much calcite do we need, how much is that going to cost in rocket parts, you know, how many blue chips, blah blah blah, how much copper does that need to do, how much profit do. But it turns out that no, none of that fun is possible, because we put 50 copper ore in, it makes 500 molten copper, and then that 500 molten copper makes 50 copper plates. It's the exact same ratio as if we just put it in a furnace. I got really excited about that. Little bit annoying. I suppose the only caveat to that is that we would need to use these foundries, and we can get 4 modules in these foundries. So that, you know, whereas we can only get 2 modules in a furnace, we can get 4 modules in one of these guys. That might be a deal breaker for you. That might be the sort of thing that makes it worthwhile. But, you know, these modules, we haven't talked about it. Let's talk about it. They're not as simple as you might think they are. Each one of the tier 3 modules requires a special ingredient. So speed modules, we need tungsten carbide, which is what we're processing on this planet, so we can get access to a speed module 3 on Vulcanus. That's interesting. That's good to know. The quality module, we need a superconductor. No idea where that might be. The efficiency module, we need some spoilage. That's easy. Okay, that's not too bad. You know, when you put a fish out of a lake and you put it in a box for a little while, it spoils and turns into this stuff. So that's not terrible. Okay. This one is the worst one, though. The productivity module, the biter egg. Now, I go back to the beginning of the first episode where I was at the intro screen to the game, and I was seeing all the stuff happening in the background. One of those things that I'm pretty sure I've seen now, thinking about it, is a conveyor belt with biter eggs on it, and then a few of those biter eggs just suddenly decide to hatch and just tear down the base. Obviously, in that video there were some turrets around, but also in that video the turrets didn't do very well. The biters that hatched out of our own factory were able to defeat our own factory. So this productivity module, it's not a slam dunk. You know, those biter eggs, they're going to be problematic. And, you know, all of these things, it feels like we're going to have to be producing on a different planet. You know, I don't think it's any point making these things on any planet other than Vulcanus. This tungsten carbide, it's not going to be worthwhile popping that in a rocket. And I think that's going to be the same for all of these. I think each one of these is dedicated towards a particular planet. So that's the modules. Speed modules is actually achievable. I didn't look into it before I started talking. That's more achievable than I thought. You know, and the thing is, because we need, as far as I understand it, we'll go through caveats in a moment. As far as I understand it, we need rocket parts on every planet. So that means we need blue chips. So we need green and red chips. So we have all of the bare ingredients for rocket parts. Well, we're going to need to produce all of the bare ingredients, not for rocket parts, for modules on each planet. So the idea of producing a particular module on each planet that makes sense. You know, we're going to have the bare parts, the raw ingredients for it all. Now, when it comes to rocket parts, I have just a little grumble, just a tiny little one. And I've already kind of talked about it a little bit. Now, if we go into one of these rocket silos and hover over the rocket part, we get stack size 5, rocket capacity 10,000, 2,000 stacks in one rocket. But I don't think this exists. I'm certain that this must be like a vestige, you know, like a remnant of an old set of recipes. I'm certain this doesn't. I can't find it anywhere. You know, if I go into my Factoriopedia, this is meant to be the Bible. If I go to a rocket part, nothing found. Like, nothing here. So I don't know whether this is like just to taunt me, but we've got to ignore that. What we actually need to do is we need to deliver all 3 of these parts. And that really, it sets off a train of motion in my mind, because another thing that we've got in this panel is we've actually got a weight for the rocket. So this is the first time that I can remember there being a weight for these items. So we can actually calculate the weights of these things. And if we go by the fact that a ton is a full rocket load, you know, I haven't done the maths. Give me 2 minutes. Let me just work out the maths for this one.
A few moments later.
So, 1 ton, that makes a single green chip, 0.5 kilogram. It makes a single red chip, 1 kilogram. And it makes a single blue chip, 3.33 kilograms. Now, I'm no game designer, but for me, it feels like when you're approaching something like this, you've got a few different options. Like, you can go for the fun option, or you can go for the option that gives the game balance, or you can go for kind of the immersive option, the most real world option. Now, in my mind, the idea of a computer chip weighing 3.5 kilograms, you know, technically speaking, 3 blue chips weighs the same as 1 segment of conveyor belt. Just feels like that the option that that they've gone with is for the balance option, because, you know, really we should be able to be pushing computer chips as much as we want. You know, I accept an engine is heavy. I can accept, you know, a steel beam is heavy. I can accept a bomb is heavy. All of that stuff I understand, but it just feels like this has been, and blue chips are a pain. They're going to be a pain on every planet. So, I don't know. I just feel like there's the option that they've chosen here is to balance the game and to make it difficult, because that's what we actually have. Is we've got these rockets are expensive. We need a lot of them to deliver a full set of cargo on our platform. Like this cargo that we've got up here, we can fill this cargo if we choose particular ingredients. We can fill this cargo with maybe 5 or 6 rockets at the minimum. But we can also fill this cargo with 50 or 60 rockets if it's bringing an item that only is one stack, like a conveyor belt. Conveyor belt is one stack, so if you want 1,000 conveyor belts, 10 stacks, you've got 10 rockets to bring it up here. All of this rocket business, transporting stuff on a rocket, super duper expensive, and the whole game, it feels, is designed around building these rocket parts. That's where I'm getting to ultimately. Building these freaking rocket parts on every single planet. But leave it in there. Just leave this little thing at the bottom. Just rocket capacity 10,000. Now, this actually leads me on to a second thought process, which is that SPM. What is the point of SPM now? Because every science, we're going to make a new science on every planet. We're going to need to put that science on a rocket ship, and we're going to need to blast that rocket ship to here so that we can combine it with all the other science. So now every science we make, we have to include the cost of the rocket ships, and these are not insignificant costs. So I used to question SPM. I used to question the validity of it. I used to question the fun element of it. I used to look at it with a certain amount of confusion. I have tried it. I mean, it didn't go well for me, but not because of the SPM and the calculation and everything else. It didn't go well for me because of trains, to be honest. And we might have fixed train. I mean, that's something we haven't talked about yet. Elevated train tracks. You know, that one single issue might have fixed train tracks, and it might make those factory. Anyway, that's another story. SPM as a concept, I've always been a little bit skeptical about it because, you know, when you're chasing the numbers, when you've got a spreadsheet and you're trying to get everything precise, there's a certain amount of fun that gets lost along the way. But now, not only do we have to manage all of the ingredients and the processes and everything else, but we have to actually we have to calculate how much we're going to spend on rockets. The calculation of that blows my mind. I've got a spreadsheet for vanilla. I was fully expecting to update it for this version at some point in time. But the idea, it's just got a whole lot more complicated. A whole lot more complicated. Anyway, I think those are the things that I wanted to talk about. In terms of the base itself, we've got a whole load of processing here. And to be honest, we need a whole load of more processing because we need this base to make all of the things. This is now a starter factory for Vulcanus. I needed to make railway tracks. I needed to make conveyor belts. All of the conveyor belts that I brought with me here are blue conveyor belts because they're the exact same cost to put in a rocket as all the other conveyor belts. So why would you bring any other kind? But we've got infinite iron, blah, blah, blah. So I can make infinite conveyor belts here, and I can, you know, extract some of the blue belts that I've already put down and put them to better use somewhere else, and maybe save a few more rockets coming from Novice, because it's just painful. Now, there are a few decisions to come in the future. I've already been thinking about them. Now, one of the things that we need for the concrete, because we need concrete for all these elevated rails now, reinforced refined concrete, whatever it's called, super important ingredient, but we need water for it. Now, the game actually gives us some recipes to be able to achieve that, if I can hit the right buttons on my controller. We'll go back to this Foundry place, because this is it here? No, it's not here. Okay. Here it is. Okay. Nope. Steam? Yes, here we are. Wow. We can now turn sulfuric acid into steam with the help of this calcite stuff, which seems to be some kind of catalyst of some kind. Anyway, the point is, we've got sulfuric acid vents on this planet that we can use with the standard kind of oil pump jack that we can pipe in. So we don't have oil, but we do have some components of the oil. Sulfuric acid is one of the things we do have, but as with all these things, it's a limited resource. And before I came here, I knew that we would need concrete, and I knew that I would have a problem with water, but the way I was going to solve it wasn't this new funky recipe. The way I was going to solve it was by building a platform in space and extracting the ice from meteors, because that's free. It's all off solar panels. You know, those asteroids, they just collect the asteroids, that water, and then throwing that stuff at this planet, that's free as well. No, costs absolutely nothing. So I can save a whole load of sulfuric acid if I just build a specific platform for orbit around Vulcanus that extracts ice from the meteorites around it and sends it here. Now, if we're doing that, then we can also do the same with the carbon, because the coal, we can make carbon from coal, which is what I'm doing here at the moment, because I need it for this tungsten stuff in order to make these foundries. I've just got a temporary process. But this coal, there's not a lot of it, and, you know, I'm going to use it up eventually. If I can... The thing is, I need coal liquefaction to be able to get plastics, to be able to get red chips. So all of this coal, I really want to push towards coal liquefaction. So if I can save the carbon, if I can bring the carbon in from orbit, then I save all of that coal and I can just chuck that coal at coal liquefaction. Now, these are the sorts of options we haven't had before in vanilla. Genuine strategy calls, like different ways of how we can approach this. So although they've given us this recipe, and I wasn't aware of this recipe when I made this plan, I am still going to stick with the same plan, because I think that's the smart play. I think that's just the smart way to go. But, I mean, in terms of this factory, we got a whole load of more work to do. I mean, I think this is probably about halfway there, if that. And I'm pretty sure it's going to, you know, be demolished at some point. We're kind of having to we have to squeeze it into this piece of land, this piece of flat land that I've got available to me. It's not square, it's not regular. But once I get access to cliff explosives, and, you know, these two patches of ore are not huge. These probably won't last too long. I can clear all these cliffs, maybe defeat a few of these worms and get some more land. And then I can maybe start thinking about something a bit more permanent. And to be fair, in much the same way that I'm thinking that same thing for Novice. You know, when I was looking at that copper ore and iron ore, you know, moltenizing that stuff, I was like, oh, this could be a really good excuse to go to Novice, to tear down what I've got, because I don't like it, I want something better. And that would have been a really good excuse to push me to do it. But it's not. I can't do it. And can I even put these on Novice? Yeah, there's no... I just need to put them on a rocket. How many of these things can I get on a rocket? 5. Yeah, that is... yeah. It's punishing. The rockets are punishing. But the way to get around that is just to build everything on each planet, I think. But anyway, all of that stuff is for another episode. That is it for this one. I hope it's been good. Till next time.